I want to take some time and talk about tubeless for fat biking. Yes, if you're running low pressure for the snow and for traction of that nature, less than 10 psi, it may be the ideal situation because you're getting the real flex in the tire and the traction from the tire. But I do a lot of rails to trail and riding the road to the mountain bike trails. So when I'm on the rails to trail or on the street, I'm pumped up to 20 psi. And I have had nothing but a nightmare. If I get a puncture, it's so large, or it has been, maybe it's just me, but even with the darts, it took 3 darts and it still didn't seal right. And I ended up just putting the tube in the tire anyway to get home. I have had slice on the sidewalls, which totally blew out the whole, sealant in the tube anyway. But for me, what I was noticing, even when things were tight and I had tire pressure up, especially if I've been riding for a week or so, that all of a sudden I start getting all these little leaks. I'd put, the water or the Sherlock fluids over where it was trying to figure out where the leak was coming from. It would be leaking through all these little seams. And just real small, but you know what? That's all it takes overnight. It's enough to let it down. Well, what I had found was, and the normal is this situation. There's this tape that seals from edge to edge, and that's what maintains the sealant and the air pressure. But what I found after riding for a while with the sealant in there, I started finding this. And this isn't something I did and tried to push. To give you an example, this is what I found when I took the tire off. All this kind of where this is starting to peel back because, and I'm going to show you in a moment how and why this really happened. But this is what I was finding, and this is what was causing the leak. So again, I was back to putting tubes back in just to get around it. Well, let me demonstrate, like right here. Let's say we're going to peel this tape up. Well, right where the tape ends, you can see it's not, because the sealant's been in there and whatnot, it just comes up like, matter of fact, you can just see that it didn't really stick very well. And I went through the whole process of doing the prep as far as the acetone and whatnot and keeping it clean. But I think the thing you're going to find when I peel this tape back is, and let's just do it. When I peeled this tape back, the rubber seal or the rim protector that sits in here, see where that edge sits? It sits clear up into here. So you're literally taping up on top here, which you're never going to get a real good seat here anyway from that tape trying to roll over like that. It just is not designed to do that. And the other thing I've been watching, and I don't want to ditch anybody. I'm not, I'm trying to make it sound like, this or that. But when people say they go back and they put the tape in there and it's too wide and they cut it, well, if your gasket's already this wide, then it's not giving you any room. And the other piece of it is, when I see people taking a razor blade and cutting this tape to that edge, I don't know, I'm from the aircraft industry, and we never, ever take a razor blade to aluminum, because you're scarring it, which it could just lead to cracking. It's not a good practice, and I know it in the airline industry, so I would really stay away from that. What I have done, see where the spoke nipple is here? What I've done in the past is I'll go back and cut that rubber seal where it's a little closer, so you're getting a little more bite in the tape when it adheres. But even that, if I showed you the other wheel that I did that to, it's doing the same thing. The tape's just peeling off, or after so long. And again, it's just a mess. I try to keep a pretty clean shop and a pretty clean area, but this is just, and again, here you go. It's all this stuff is just peeled back. And once it peels back like that and wads up, then it just allows the sealant and the air pressure to escape. I've been searching. Matter of fact, you can still see some of the moisture in there. But I have just been on top of trying to find a better source. And of course, tubes are heavy. Tubes are a pain in the butt. And to have a spare, it's a lot of weight to even put in your pack or in your backpack. But what I have found, and I'm going to go into that later, but I'm going to leave it here. Now that the tape's off and we look close, you can see the moisture that's getting up underneath that tape. And if moisture is getting up underneath that, that means the air is escaping that way also. And I just haven't had great success. I know other people have taped it in multiple ways and whatnot, but again, for me, now the tubes that I have found, it's just so much cleaner, so much simpler, and I just don't have to deal with it anymore. So, here's the other wheel, and as I peel the tape back, and I did peel this back a little bit, but even if I did start it, it still was about like this. It just peeled back very easy, and that very clear thing to see is you can see the sealant's getting up underneath the tape. And again, if the sealant is getting up underneath the tape, that means pressure is getting up underneath the tape. And it is not going to hold tire pressure. I found this stuff is just a mess. Regardless how much you try, it makes a mess. Plus, for fat bike tires, especially if you have multiple fat bikes, you need gallons of this stuff. A standard tube is heavy, especially for a fat bike tire. The bigger the tire, the heavier the tube. I found these TPU tubes. They are awesome. I have been riding for a couple months now, and I love them. They are way lighter. Check out their website.